There are battles, and then there are last stands. Moments when a handful of warriors face impossible odds, not for victory, not for glory, but because retreat is not an option. Because behind them stand their people, their homes, their future. This is the story of those who chose to stand when the world demanded they fall. 5 of the greatest last stands in human history. 5 battles where courage shone brighter than armies. 5 moments where fate paused, and legends were born. The flames of Thermopylae. The desperate heights of Masada. The walls of Constantinople crumbling under cannon fire. The blazing outpost of Saragarhi. And the desert fury of the French Foreign Legion at Camarón. This is the greatest last stands in human history. 480 BC. Greece trembles. The Persian Empire, the largest the world had ever seen, marches west with an army so vast that ancient writers claimed it drank rivers dry. At its head, Xerxes, king of kings. Against this tidal wave stands a single Greek pass. A narrow road between mountains and sea. Thermopylae, the hot gates. And at those gates, 300 Spartans, led by King Leonidas. They are joined by 7,000 allies, but it is the Spartans who form the iron core, men raised from childhood to fear nothing, not even death. Leonidas surveys the cliffs and whispers, "Here, we will stop them." The first day, the Persians attack in waves, tens of thousands at a time. But the pass is so narrow, numbers mean nothing. The Spartans lock shields, spears projecting like a living wall. Persian arrows darken the sky, but bounce off bronze and wood. Again and again, the Persians crash into Spartan discipline and break like water against rock. By sunset, the pass is filled with bodies. But Sparta still stands. The immortals attack. Xerxes grows furious. He unleashes his elite guard, the immortals, 10,000 strong. But the Spartans fight differently now. They rotate in shifts. They feint backward, drawing the immortals into a trap, then surge forward with terrifying precision. Leonidas stands at the front, his cape stained with dust and blood, shouting, "Give them nothing, take from them everything." The immortals retreat. The betrayal. On the second night, a Greek traitor, Ephialtes, reveals a hidden mountain path to Xerxes. Persian forces march behind the Greeks. Leonidas knows the gate is lost. He dismisses most of the Greek troops. Only the 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians, and 400 Thebans remain. A few thousand against hundreds of thousands. A doomed stand. The final day. The Spartans fight with broken spears, then with swords, then with bare hands. Leonidas falls, pierced by arrows. His men form a circle around his body, a final ring of bronze to protect their king. When the last Spartan falls, Xerxes finally takes the pass. But at a cost so high it shakes the Persian Empire. Thermopylae becomes more than a battle. It becomes a symbol, a reminder that courage, even in defeat, can echo through eternity. 70 AD. The Roman Empire is at its peak, the greatest military machine the world has ever known. But in the deserts of Judea, a spark of rebellion burns. After Jerusalem falls, a group of Jewish zealots, the Saragarhi, escape into the wilderness. Just 967 men, women, and children. But they take refuge in a place the Romans fear. Masada, a desert fortress perched atop a sheer mountain plateau. To reach it, one must climb narrow snake-like pathways carved into the cliff face. It is a natural citadel, a city touching the sky. The Romans believe it is impregnable. And yet, Rome does not tolerate defiance. The 10th Legion marches. Under the burning desert sun, the Romans encircle the mountain with camps, a perfect ring of stone walls, still visible today. At their center, Flavius Silva, the Roman commander, a man known for patience and merciless resolve. He looks up at the towering cliffs of Masada and declares, "If they will not come down, we will go up." And so begins one of the most extraordinary sieges in ancient history. Rome does not attack Masada with swords. Rome attacks with engineering. Thousands of soldiers and slaves begin building a massive siege ramp, slowly ascending the entire western face of the mountain. Stone by stone, day after day, 4 months. Above them, the defenders, led by Eleazar ben Yair, watch in silence. They rain down arrows, stones, and fire. But the Romans keep building. Nothing stops Rome. By spring, the ramp reaches the walls of Masada, a colossal structure, nearly the height of a skyscraper. Silva orders his men, "Prepare the ram." The Romans roll forward a siege tower fitted with a huge battering ram. It slams into Masada's wall, echoing across the desert like thunder. Boom, boom, boom. Inside, the defenders build a second wall, a wooden barrier packed with sand, to absorb the blows. The ram shudders, but still it breaks through. When the Romans finally tear open the defenses, they prepare to storm the city at dawn. Torches burn late into the night. But on the mountain, a different fire burns. Eleazar ben Yair gathers the people in the moonlight. He speaks with quiet strength. "We stand here because we refused Roman chains. If they take us alive, our children will be enslaved, our wives violated, our men tortured. Better to die free than live as Rome's trophies." A heavy silence falls. One by one, men and women whisper, "Better death than slavery." A grim, heartbreaking plan is agreed upon. The men will choose 10 to kill the rest. Then one will kill the 9. And finally, he will take his own life. No Roman will claim a single captive. T sunrise, the Roman legion breaches the walls. But as they enter, they find silence. Wind whistles through the empty streets. Torches flicker against stone walls blackened by smoke. And then, they discover the truth. Nearly 1,000 bodies lie in peaceful rest. Families holding each other. Fathers embracing sons. Mothers shielding infants. Silva stands among them, stunned. He expected a victory of conquest, but finds instead a victory of spirit. Masada becomes a symbol, not of defeat, but of the unbreakable human desire to live free. For more than 1,000 years, Constantinople stood as the shield of Europe, the shining capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. A city of emperors, scholars, and cathedrals. A city surrounded by walls so massive that enemies called them the bones of giants. But by 1453, the empire has shrunk to almost nothing. Just one city remains. One city against the full force of a rising power. The Ottoman Empire, led by a 21-year-old genius. Sultan Mehmed II, Mehmed the Conqueror. He does not come merely to capture a city. He comes to end an empire. Inside Constantinople stands Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, the last Roman emperor. With him, about 7,000 defenders. 2,000 of them foreign volunteers. Venetian and Genoese sailors. And clergy who believe this is the city God promised would never fall. Outside the walls, an army of 80,000 Ottomans. Archers, cavalry, elite janissaries, and terrifying siege cannons. Among them is something the medieval world has never seen. The Great Bombard. A massive cannon capable of firing stone balls the size of small cars, created by the engineer Orban. Mehmed looks upon the city and declares, "I will take Constantinople, or the grave will take me." The Great Bombard roars. Its echo is heard miles away. Each shot cracks the ancient walls of Theodosius. Inside the city, bells ring continuously, call to repair, call to prayer, call to survival. For 53 days, the thunder of the cannon becomes the heartbeat of the siege. The defenders fight desperately, knowing every stone that falls is a step toward the end of Rome. Protect the harbor. The Byzantines pull a gigantic chain across the Golden Horn, stopping the Ottoman navy. Mehmed reacts with a strategy that shocks the world. He orders his ships dragged over land. In a single night, the Ottomans lay greased logs, build wooden tracks, and haul entire warships over the hills, placing them directly into the Golden Horn behind the chain. The Byzantines wake to the impossible. Genoese commander Giustiniani whispers, "We are surrounded, even where nature said we were safe." Day after day, the walls crumble under cannon fire. Night after night, the defenders rush to repair them with rubble, planks, and even broken statues. At one breach, Constantine himself fights in the front line, an emperor holding a sword, not a scepter. He tells his men, "I will die with you, my brothers, or live with you in victory." Before dawn, Mehmed orders 3 waves. First wave, the Bashabazuks. Irregular troops charge and die in huge numbers. But they weaken the defenders. Second wave, the Anatolian troops. More disciplined. More brutal. They reach the walls, climbing ladders, hurling grenades. But Giustiniani's men hold. Third wave, the Janissaries. The elite. The unstoppable. A deafening war drum shakes the ground. Dum 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 dum. The Janissaries advance in perfect silence. The defenders are exhausted. Some are wounded. Some have not slept for days. Giustiniani is badly injured, carried away, a fatal blow to morale. Small gate, the Kirkoporta, is left accidentally open. Ottoman soldiers slip through. The end begins. Constantine XI removes his imperial regalia, crying, "The city is lost. But I will not live as its traitor." He charges into the Janissaries, and dies in the streets of his beloved city. Inside the palace, women and children sing hymns as the doors break open. In Hagia Sophia, priests pray until the invaders storm through the columns. The Roman Empire, born more than 1,500 years earlier, ends in a single morning. Mehmed II enters the city on horseback. He walks into Hagia Sophia, gazes at the dome, and orders, "Let it be a mosque." But outside, he pauses at the sight of fallen defenders. He whispers, "They fought like lions." The world has changed. The Middle Ages end. A new era begins. But the bravery of Constantinople's final defenders will echo in history forever. Some battles are won by armies. Others, by a handful of men whose courage becomes larger than life. This is the story of 21 Sikh soldiers of the 36th Sikh Regiment. Men stationed at a lonely outpost in the rugged mountains of the northwest frontier. A place known as Saragarhi. Their job was simple: relay messages between 2 larger forts, Fort Lockhart and Fort Gulistan. Nothing heroic. Nothing glorious. Just routine signal duty. Until the morning of September 12, 1897. When 10,000 Afghan tribesmen descended upon them like a living storm. A sunrise, the sepoys wake, pray, prepare tea. Havildar Ishar Singh, their commanding officer, walks the perimeter, with the calm of a man who has lived his life by discipline. Then a dust cloud rises in the distance. Then another. Then hundreds more. Soon the mountains shake with the war cries of thousands. The Afghan tribes have come to overwhelm the frontier forts. But first, they must take Saragarhi. A British officer at Fort Lockhart signals, "Reinforcements will not reach in time. Hold the position as long as possible." It is the cruelest message a soldier can receive. But the men of Saragarhi do not flinch. The Afghans demand surrender. Havildar Ishar Singh refuses. He orders his men into firing positions on the ramparts. The first wave charges, hundreds rushing uphill. The Sikhs fire in disciplined volleys. Bolt, aim, fire. Bolt, aim, fire. Bodies fall. But thousands remain. Each sepoy now knows the truth. They will not survive this day. Yet not a single man abandons his post. These 21 soldiers stand against the impossible. Not for victory, but for honor, for duty, for each other. By midday, the Afghans set fire to the brush around the fort, creating smoke cover. Under the choking fog, they rush the walls with ladders and axes. Inside the fort, bullets run low. Havildar Ishar Singh issues the unthinkable order: prepare for hand-to-hand combat. The next moments are chaos. Shouting, steel clashing, blood spraying across sandstone walls. Sepoy Bhagwan Singh falls. Sepoy Uttam Singh replaces him on the breach. Every death is a shockwave. But every man turns that grief into fury. Still, the Afghans keep coming. The signalman, Gurmukh Singh, continues relaying messages to Fort Lockhart. Bullets whistle past him. Wood splinters around him. But he stays at his heliograph. Finally, he sends the message no soldier wishes to transmit. The enemy is inside. His officer replies, "You must continue fighting." Gurmukh answers, "I will, sir, until my last breath." Havildar Ishar Singh is injured, bleeding, exhausted. He orders his men to retreat into the inner courtyard. Then he alone holds the main gate. Sword in hand, shield on his arm. He does not let the enemy pass until his men are safe behind the inner barricade. He fights like a warrior from myth, a lion surrounded by wolves. Eventually he falls, but his sacrifice buys precious minutes. Inside, the remaining sepoys fight room by room, corner by corner, refusing surrender even when the fort burns around them. Only one soldier remains alive. Gurmukh Singh, the signalman. Trapped inside a burning room, he sends one final message. The battle is nearly over. The officer replies, "You have done your duty." Gurmukh kneels, whispers a final prayer, and charges out with his bayonet. He kills several attackers before he is overwhelmed. With Gurmukh's death, Saragarhi falls. But its story rises forever. Hours later, when the British retake the post, they find the bodies of over 600 Afghan warriors lying around the fort, and at the center, 21 fallen Sikhs, still clutching their rifles and blades. Queen Victoria later declares the battle one of the greatest displays of valor in history. All 21 soldiers receive the Indian Order of Merit, the highest award available to Indian soldiers at the time. Even today, the Indian Army remembers September 12th as Saragarhi Day, a tribute to men who chose duty over life. April 30th, 1863. In the deserts of Mexico, the French Foreign Legion is marching through hostile lands. Their mission: escort a supply convoy of 62 men to a fort. But fate delivers them into the jaws of 2,000 Mexican troops, determined to annihilate them. A small stone hacienda becomes the stage for one of history's most legendary last stands, the Battle of Camarón. The commanding officer, Captain Jean Danjou, an officer with a wooden prosthetic hand, rallies his men. He speaks with quiet authority. "Messers, today we do not retreat. Today, we write our legend." The Mexican forces surround the building, shouting war cries that echo across the desert. The legionnaires barricade themselves, using stones and sandbags, holding the hacienda with extraordinary discipline. Their rifles fire in perfect rhythm. Every shot counts. Every second matters. Captain Danjou walks along the barricades, inspecting his men. The soldiers, some barely awake, some wounded, know the odds. Yet there is no fear, only resolve. "We fight, or we die," whispers one soldier. And fight they do. For 10 hours, the battle rages. Smoke clouds the hacienda. Bullets pierce the walls. Cannon fire rattles nearby. One by one, the defenders fall. But each death fuels the courage of the rest. They fight for each other, for the Legion, and for honor. Captain Danjou falls, mortally wounded, his wooden hand still gripping a rifle. The men continue without him, inspired by his sacrifice. The Mexicans, stunned by such relentless resistance, cannot breach the barricade. By the afternoon, only a handful of French soldiers remain, some wounded, some barely standing. The last defenders, facing inevitable defeat, refuse to surrender. They march out of the hacienda in formation, rifles in hand, singing the Legion anthem. Even outnumbered 30-1, their spirit is unbroken. They are eventually overwhelmed, but the battle has become legend. Captain Danjou, though dead, becomes immortal in memory. The wooden hand he carried is now preserved in the Legion's museum, a symbol of courage, duty, and sacrifice. The Battle of Camarón is celebrated every year by the French Foreign Legion. Every soldier swears an oath. Legionnaires never retreat. We fight and we stand. From the deserts of Mexico to modern-day barracks, the story of Camarón reminds us that courage is not measured by numbers, but by the size of a man's heart. From the cliffs of Thermopylae to the walls of Masada, from Constantinople's final cries to Saragarhi's blazing guns, to Cameron's defiant march, one truth emerges: heroism is timeless. It is not the number of men, not the weapons, not the empire they protect, but the choice to stand when all hope is lost. History remembers the fallen, because their courage inspires the living, because legends are not made in comfort, They are forged in the furnace of impossibility. In every age, humans face insurmountable odds. Some retreat. Some negotiate. Some surrender. But the ones we call heroes, they stand. They fight. They defy death itself. Their stories travel through centuries. A Spartan king. A desert fortress. A city that defied time. 21 Sikhs. A handful of legionnaires. These are the greatest last stands in human history. Moments when courage became immortal. Moments when men became legends. And when we tell these stories, we remember that even in the darkest hour, human spirit can shine brighter than any empire, any army, any weapon. This is the legacy of the last stand.